Hey guys, my first attempt at a video here to show you just a couple of things about the using the simulator, the EFIS simulator. I've got the G3 version. Apologies if that's not exactly the same as the version you're using. That's the latest MGL EFIS, and it's the one I'm using. So I'll just run through a couple of really basic things as per your requests. So what I've done is I've just opened up the simulator, and I've opened it up as a EFIS Discovery, the small one. And I'll just run through getting it into the design mode and just making a couple of really simple changes, and then maybe another video later on getting it onto and off your SD card and so on. So I've started up the program. It's a default project I've started up, and the first thing to know is it starts up automatically in simulator mode. So up on the top menu bar here, I'll click mode, and you'll see it's in simulation, and that's the way it always starts. To make any changes to it, we need to go to design. I'll do that in a sec. The first thing is figure out what screen you want to change and have that selected up here. So at the moment it's on page 1, which is obviously a PFD with some engine stuff at the bottom. If I want to change page 2, I need to select it in the simulator program, and so on. There's your moving map, so I can change that screen, and I can just rotate through all the screens and change whichever one I want. So I'm going to do page 1, which is the PFD. So we'll go mode, and we'll get it into design mode. And this brings up over here on the right this designing module f111.epd. Don't worry too much about what it's called, but it's now in design mode, and it's got a whole bunch of boxes have appeared around it and so on. I'm just going to tidy up the screen here, so I'm going to shift the simulator screen across, and I'm just going to shift this box across so I can see everything properly. At the moment I can't do any editing, even though it's in design mode. I haven't really told it exactly what I want to edit. So we go up here in the designing module box, and we select module, and now I've got a whole bunch of options as to what exactly I want to edit. So we wanted to edit the default module, and MGL kind of divide their stuff up into flight, engine, fuel, info, which can all be on the one page. So if I want to play around with the flight instrument side of it here on this page, I'll select the default flight module here. So I'll click that. Now it gives me some more options because MGL produce multiple defaults depending on what radio setup you have and so on. So the one we've got showing here at the moment is a full radio panel on top, so I'm going to select that and continue. Right, now it lists, you see over here on the right in the designing box, it now knows what I'm trying to edit, the flight module with the full radio panel on top, and it lists everything that is on that page. The engine instruments at the bottom have disappeared because I've told it I'm not designing or changing the engine module, I'm changing the flight module. And now I can select anything on that page that's shown there currently in the designer and change it and delete it or move it around or whatever. So let's play around with something and see what happens. All of the items on this list conform to one thing on this page, and you can select them one of two ways. You can either click on them on the screen. That can be a bit fiddly because some things are overlaid on top of other things, and it might not select exactly what you want, and you have to click it and click it again and shift your mouse around a little bit. Or you can scroll through here and over on the right here and try and find the exact item you want. But you need to sort of learn a little bit about the terminology before you figure that out and how to do it efficiently. So I'm just going to do something really simple. Let's say the little ECB box here, let's say we don't have ECBs and we don't want that on the screen. Well, that's easy. So I'm moving my mouse across here, the little hand, and I'm going to click on it. And see, this is what I was talking about before. It's actually highlighted. The whole artificial horizon is flashing now, and I don't want that. I want the ECB, so I'm going to click on it again. There it is. And even though the whole artificial horizon is flashing, that doesn't really matter at the moment. So the ECB box is flashing. And it will, anything that's flashing here now, it's going to highlight over in this list. There we go, functional icon ECB. The other thing is, I said the whole artificial horizon's flashing, and if I scroll up here, you'll see horizon is highlighted as well. Alright, if I just click somewhere over here on that again, it'll unhighlight that. There we go. It's a little bit fiddly sometimes, but you get used to it. So now I've got the ECB box flashing. I've got functional icon ECB over here highlighted. So now I can edit this and do whatever I want. A couple of ways of editing it. I can right click it, and that gives me some options. I can delete it, cut it, copy it. Move up and down. That doesn't move. These ones here don't mean move up and down on the screen. They mean move up and down in the list here. This list also reflects the draw order of everything on the screen, so moving up and down can have an effect. It may or may not. It depends what other stuff is around it, what's superimposed on top of it, and so on. If I wanted to actually move the ECB, I would say maybe screen move item, or I can just click on it individually. So let's move it. So let's double click on it. The way we do that is once it's highlighted, we double click on it. And now it brings up a property box, and it only applies to one individual item. These property boxes, you can only have one individual item up at a time. It tells us the screen position, what it's talking about, generally a few options. Depending on what you've selected here, this property box may be a lot bigger with a lot more options, but this is a pretty simple thing. It's just like a push button. So here we have the position. All of them basically have a position. The outer buttons here will shift the item by 10 pixels in the direction indicated. The inner buttons will shift the item by a single pixel in the direction indicated. And the X and the Y simply shows you where it is located on the screen. So it's 202 across and 361 down. That's basically from the top left corner. So if I wanted to move the ECB item across, I would click on, if I wanted to move it across 10 pixels, I would click here, and now it's showing 212, and you can see it's shifted. Want to move it back again, I'll click there, and it's shifted back to where it was, 202. If I want to move it a couple of single pixels, because I'm trying to finesse everything, then I can click here. Let's move it 3 pixels to the right. 1, 2, 3, and there it is. It's shifted across a tiny bit, and I'll move it back again. 1, 2, 3, and then I click OK, and it's done. If you've shifted it, that'll be where it is. If I wanted to delete it, the way I delete something is I cut it. The reason for that is if I've been a bit hasty, like I mentioned in one of my posts, there's no back button on this, there's no undo. So if I decide to delete something and then I suddenly think, I've deleted the wrong thing, or I didn't really want to do that, then I have to go and find it in the item library and put it back again and shift it into the right position again. It's a pain. So to give me a few seconds to think about what I've done, I'll just go cut, and if I want to put it back, it's an easy matter of pasting it back in. So when I cut it, you'll see it'll disappear from the list here. So I'm going to go cut, one item copied to the clipboard, OK, and now on this list it's disappeared. And it's disappeared from the screen. If I want to put it back in, all I'm going to do here is I'm going to right click where it was, approximately where it was. Sorry, I'm going to highlight something and then right click, and I'm going to go paste after selected item or before selected item. So I'm going to paste it before that. I can't remember where it was now, but I don't think this one matters. Paste before, and there it is back again. So now we've got the functional icon ECB back again, and it's back where it started. Because I cut it, it cuts it with the properties that it had, including its position and so on. So I've pasted it back into the list here, and it's appeared where it started. So that's how I do those types of things. That's just a basic introduction to editing the screen. Here's the list of all the stuff. You can play around with it. If you click on these things, it'll flash a box around what you've clicked on. I've clicked on MGL EFIS. You can see a box flashing around here. If I double click on that, again, here's a much bigger property editor, which I can play around with. I can change colors, again the position, and so on. And I can just click out of that. It still stays highlighted here until I unselect it. I can unselect it up here on the right and it'll stop flashing. And now there's nothing highlighted that I'm currently editing. So that's how to do those things. And when you click out of this, it saves automatically. So there's no save button, it just saves it. So if I go here, let's delete the ECB. I'll try and find that ECB again. Where was it? There it is. Functional item ECB. Let's just get rid of it. Don't want it there. I can put it back in later. I don't use this screen anyway, it doesn't matter. I'll cut it. Well, I'll delete it. It doesn't matter, because if I click out of it, it's saved it and it's gone. So there's no way of then pasting it back in, so I'll just delete it. I'm going to click out of this. We're back into simulation mode automatically. The designer's shut down and the ECB icon's deleted. That's it. When I copy these files across to the SD card and install them on the EFIS, that icon will no longer be there, that ECB icon, that's gone. Same for anything that's shifted around or that you've changed in any way. So that's kind of a basic rough introduction to how to do those things. As far as transferring onto your SD card, it's done using the file manager here. I've just opened up the file manager. On the left, I'll make sure it's on desktop. There's desktop. That shows everything on my own desktop computer here. And on the right, it says your EFIS simulator data. So that's showing the files that are in this EFIS simulator. And on the two bottom panes here, you can just click and drag stuff across between the two. So if I want to go into the defaults and all these default screens, I can select them and I can drag them across and store them. If I had an SD card in, which I don't at the moment, I can store them on a drive. There's my USB drive, so for example I could select all these, highlight them using the shift key, pull them across into my Lexar USB drive, release that, and it's copying them all. That's it. I go into my USB drive here, you can see all of these screen files, these default screen files are copied into it. So if that was an SD card in a USB adapter or whatever, it would have copied all those files onto the SD card. That's a quick and dirty on a couple of basic editing things and using the EFIS project file manager. You can do this through the Windows file manager. It's a bit of a pain because you've got to know exactly where your files are kept in the MGL Avionics folder. Just use their file manager, it works fine. It's just a matter of getting used to it. Hopefully that'll give you something to start with anyway. I'll do another video on transferring stuff between the edited screen files and an SD card and getting that into the EFIS itself. Thanks very much.